Many thanks, Sarah, for this invitation and for this webinar. My name is Abel Kouamé, and the studio where I work is African Toon that was created in 2005. So initially, I come from the universe of the press edition. So I've started as an illustrator of bande dessinée, and then I had a need to be adapted to all of these animation projects, and this had led me to create the studio. And in fact, all of these projects were developed were animation projects, and in general, these were projects that were very close to my environment and to what I have learned either at school or with parents and with the family. So naturally, the projects that were developed had a very important awareness raising impact in Africa, culturally speaking. So when we talk about cultural enlightenment in Africa, in fact, the first tool of export in a country, I think, is the culture. And when we see countries such as France and the United States of America that are trying to inject every type of cultural product, for example, the United States of America is very active in the cinematography and in the filmmaking, and they try to grab this sector and have a control over this sector because they sure know that the export of American culture is key in order to be able to export later on all the other elements. So, of course, they have things to offer worldwide. And I think that for us as Africans, we have to understand it once and for all. We have to understand that the cultural enlightenment is a very important element in perceiving other cultures compared to the African cultures. So we have to understand it very well. And in fact, the public powers have to understand that they have to help the different actors. And this would help advancing that cultural enlightenment. And this goes through the artists. And of course, as artists, our role and our work is thinking about projects and working on projects that would be a source of inspiration for us, and also finding the different leverages in order to be able to present these cultural projects to our audience locally and of course to the rest of the world. So this is what I can say regarding this first question. Many thanks. I have a question, just to go back to what you've said. As an artist, do you think that you are supported in your role as an ambassador, as having like a first economic contact between your country and abroad? So do you think that you are supported in this regard, or do you have the impression that even the Africa Toon creation by yourself and your team maybe was not that supported? Well, in fact, when we've started in 2005, there were no opportunities, and the whole working space was very restrained and restricted because the animation segment is not something that is very mainstreamed, if I may say. So when we've started, we've just had created the partnerships on a small scale, and we realized the importance of communicating with many other partners. This is why we've had to deploy a lot of effort as an artist and as an entrepreneur. and in charge of projects, it's very important to communicate. It is important to have an outreach towards people and to go and explain to them. Because in general, artists tend to say that it's the public powers who are to blame, others are to blame, and we have to be accompanied, and we have to be mentored, just to be to say it simply. But in fact, I would say that in fact that there are very well-known artists. For example, when you go out, the sellers in the street do not wait for the help of the state to launch their trade and their businesses. So it's up to us as artists in the first place to find the intelligent solutions to move forward and to present our talents and to explain our talents to others so that people would understand what's it about. So at the level of the studio, we have launched our first projects that helped us be aware that it is possible to produce, that it is possible to know that there are very interesting opportunities in the animation sector. For example, in 2013, when we've had our first film that was funded entirely by the studio, and the resources that we've had were subcontracting resources related to other projects. So we've collected a bit of money, and we've had some resources to inject into that project. But we have realized that this film that we have made was the first film ever to be produced in the region. And we've said to ourselves that there was something that needed to be done, because there were a lot of problems, maybe also positive reactions and negative reactions. So this was what boosted our energy. And of course, behind all of that, there were very important strategies that helped us understand what was there. And this goes through the training, through the exchanges, through the key partners. And we have to be able to identify the partners and move forward with the partners in order to explain to them what we are doing, because it's not that evident. I'm talking, for example, about Lebanon in general. When it comes to, let's say, construction or buildings, it's all about something concrete and tangible. They come to the field to see that something is being constructed, a building or a home. But as authors and creators who are working in the audiovisual sector and in the cinema, we are talking about projects that are not physical, not tangible, not concrete. You cannot touch them with your hand. And so it remains in the imagination. So we have to be able to explain to people what we are doing. And this is what we're doing on a daily basis, be it with banks, with other partners as well. And in order to talk about the public powers, whether locally they do accompany us or not. Well, I would say that yes, because there have been many discussions that had taken place, and you've just said it, Sarah. So it is very important to have a support here to the industrial and the cinematography in Cote d'Ivoire. And it is very important to show what we are doing. And the budgets that are allocated for the time being are very modest, and hopefully they are going to become bigger and bigger with time. Years ago, there was practically no budget to make any film or animation film, but now we are having very good funding resources, especially in the Francophone space. And of course, there are other opportunities in other territories as well. So I think that the things are going in the right direction, and they are on track. And it's very important for the actors, the talents, and artists to go and research for information that can help them. They have to explain to people their projects, and I think that this would be the best possible solution.